Hey everybody, welcome back. Canned meat. Can it be done? Or should it? Stick around and find out. As you'll look around, I'll lay out really quickly what we're using. As far as the pressure canner goes, we have been using the Presto 23-quart pressure canner and cooker. We've used it about a half dozen times. This is a dial gauge version. And what that means is that you can monitor the pressure via the gauge on top, and you have a weight that will set on here, and you can use this to sort of adjust and maintain the pressure. Now, on an electric stove cooktop that we're using, sometimes it proves a little bit tricky to get it to stay steady. Eventually we can get it on a very low temperature and it will hold for a majority of the time. But that first 15 minutes or so, you might plan on having to mess around a little bit. So we'll be using this. We'll be using quarts. I always use the Ball brand. Ball brand can be new or used. We've reused ours. According to Home Preservation website, they always recommend using a new top, a new lid each time. Again, I'm not going to steer you away from the professional suggestion, but there are plenty of people who've said and have done reused these lids, so it can be done. So what I came home with today was 20 pounds of chunked chicken breast. And so I've gone through the first 10-pound bag, and I've trimmed as much of the fat as I can possibly get off, because the fat is what will go rancid in the jars. So by eliminating the fat as much as possible, you're going to help ensure a quality, long-term canning job. If you can see from the lid here on this chicken, still looks very good. Not that cloudy or anything, and if you look at the lid, you have a date of November 7th of 2017. Now, you could probably keep going. This could probably be good for another couple of years. But once this is done, we're probably going to go ahead and cycle this into service, put it into the meals, just so that we ensure in times which are good, we have a good, healthy supply of meat on the shelf and ready to go. So the first thing I like to do is get this 23-quart pot going, and I will put 12 cups of water in, and I will add a splash of vinegar, and the vinegar will help reduce water staining and hard water deposits on the pot. This is all natural cleaning vinegar, so it's a bit stronger, so I'm just going to use a splash. Now the next thing that I will do and get going right away is I'll get a pot of water going, and I will place in it these lids that we're going to use from the jar. And that's going to give the water time to warm up and get these seals nice and sticky so that when we pack the meat in, we'll get a good seal. Now, anytime that you want to can some food, there's a website available to you. It will give detailed instructions on the methods that you should follow to ensure safe food preservation. That website is called the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and I'll show you what it looks like in just a moment. Okay, so here we are in the National Home Center for Food Preservation. So I'll click on that. It's going to bring you to their main page, and you'll go down to the left column where it says, "How do I?" And we are going to can. Now, it'll give you a list here of items that you can can. Fruits and fruit products, tomatoes and tomato products, vegetables and vegetable products, and preparing and canning poultry, red meats, and seafoods. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And then we'll scroll down and we'll see chicken or rabbit or chicken or turkey stock. So we will take chicken. Now we're going to do the raw pack. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt per quart if desired. Fill jars loosely with raw meat pieces, leaving 1 1/4 inch headspace Do not add liquid. Adjust the lids and process following the recommendations in tables 1 or 2 according to the canning method. So now we're going to scroll down to the table, and you have recommended process time for chicken or rabbit in a dial gauge or a weighted gauge pressure canner. Well, again, as I mentioned, we have a dial gauge. So I'm going to look up at this first box here. Style of pack, hot and raw, without bones, which is what we want, and we're doing quarts. So it will be 90 minutes at 11 pounds if you're 2,000 feet or below in altitude, which in the Midwest we are. Okay, so I've had my jars upside down in the canning jar just to let that hot water start to sanitize these jars. You can hear them bubbling and shaking like I'm a mad chemist. So let me pull one of these out. As we read, we're going to do a raw pack, so no preparation of the meat is required. In order to do so, we're going to use the quart. We're going to fill it to a 1 1/4 inch headspace. Now this is where this canning tool comes in place. It's got little steps, and it will show you 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2 inch, quarter, and 0. So I'm going to pack it loosely, and I'll have to use a little bit of judgment here because I want to leave 1 1/4 inch from the top of the lid so that there's room for the natural juices of the meat to expand while canning. I'll go ahead and fill the meat in so you can see what it looks like, and I will go ahead and use a tool to speed up the process. So it says to pack it loosely. We want to make sure there's plenty of room for the natural meat juice to expand in the canning process. Now the first time I canned meat, I was a little bit hesitant to do it raw, so I did do the hot pack method just for peace of mind, but I have since done the raw pack, and it works just as well. But anyway, so here we are, loosely packed. I'll bring it up to show you. Loosely packed to about 1 1/4 inch from the top. Now it says to add 1 teaspoon of canning salt. So I usually do one of these here. And then I'm also going to experiment this time around with some chicken flavored soup base. Not heaping and overflowing, about 3/4 teaspoon just to get that flavor in there. Now at this point, we have raw chicken, we have a warm jar. What we can do is get our magnet, which is not where it should be. Hold that. Okay, so at this point we have 1 jar filled, raw pack, 1 1/4 inch headspace. We need to go ahead and get our lid out of the boiling water. So we have a nice clean lid. Now here's a step that often gets forgotten, but it's a good idea to do it. And that is, before you go and seal this jar, so take a clean rag with a little bit of vinegar, and you're going to wipe down the edge of the glass where the seat and the seal is going to take place. This is a crucial step. The last thing you want is to spend all this time and investment to get these canned for 90 minutes just to pull them out and not have them seal because you didn't clean the rim. So I've now cleaned the rim. I have the raw packed meat in a warm canning quart. I'm going to set the lid on after wiping it down with vinegar. I'm going to take the lid, tighten it down hand tight, and this is now ready to nest safely in the canning jar, in the canning pressure canner. Excuse me. So now I'm going to do the same thing. We'll see just how many quarts I can get into this pressure canner with 8 pounds of meat. Okay, so the 8 pounds of cut up chicken really was only enough to fill 4 full quarts with a little bit left over. So I'm going to break here before I commit with the lid closed, and I'm going to cut up the rest of the chicken and see if I can't fill those other 3 jars. Okay, so I opened up the other 10-pound package of chicken, and I had to cut up about half of it. So all said and done, we have about 12 pounds of chicken to fill approximately 7 quarts. And so now, as you can see here, we've got 7 quarts raw packed in the canner. The canner is warm. It's been on a slow simmer since we started. So really at this point, the only thing that's left to do is to get it sealed and get it going so that we can start the timer. So you're going to slide it on. There's a particular notch. There we go. We're going to slowly close it. You can hear it hiss as it seals. Now we're going to go ahead and put the weighted cap on. We're going to turn the heat up to high. I've got it set on dual high for this pot so that it'll get going as quickly as possible. Now I've noticed it takes a little while for this to do the initial seal. There's a little toggle here that will pop up before the pressure begins to build inside. So I'll let the heat get at it for a few minutes, and usually what I do to speed up the process is I'll take a knife and sort of help hold that up until it seals, and then it'll start to build pressure a lot quicker. So we'll let that work on it, and I'll bring it back once we're up to pressure. Okay, so now you can see whether we're up to pressure here. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce heat. We're going to start our 90 minutes now, and we'll just spend this 90 minutes monitoring this gauge, adjusting heat up or down as necessary. And don't forget, if your pressure spikes and you need to bring it down quickly, you can do so using this. All right, so here we are, about 20 minutes in. Pressure's holding well. We're just monitoring at this point. Everything is going quite smoothly tonight. Okay, so as you can hear, we got the gauge down to 0. I pulled the weighted cap off. This is still venting out. This will vent until this drops. Once this drops, we can remove the lid. Carefully removing the lid, because there will still be steam that rises out of this. At that point, we'll be ready to pull our jars out, set them aside, start to let them cool, and we should start to get some popping tabs, if all went well, within the first 20 minutes or so. We'll come back with the jars setting out so you can see the finished product. Okay, so here we are. All 7 quarts made it out of the pressure canner. They're all starting to cool to room temperature. We should start hearing some popping tabs in the next few minutes. Now, if you follow this tutorial, you should be able to also replicate these results. The nice thing about this is it's pretty much the same process no matter what it is you're canning. There is some variation when you get into vegetables where you get into what's called water bath canning. But for meats, for beans, for soups, for stews, for things of that nature, you're going to follow pretty much the same pattern of 90 minutes at 11 pounds if you're doing quarts, slightly less time if you're doing pints. But nonetheless, this is a way to go. I mean, you're storing healthy protein sources that you know where they came from. You package them yourself. It doesn't require refrigeration. So yes, when it comes to preparedness, prepping for a grid down situation, for a regional type of disaster that leaves power out for an extended period of time, this is shelf stable at room temperature for years. But not only that, just in a self-sufficient lifestyle, it's conducive to convenient living. I mean, you can go down, take it off the shelf, you can throw it into a soup, you can put it in a crock pot with some vegetables and some broth, you can pan fry it, you can use it in a myriad of ways. So it's an emergency food, it's a prep food, but it's also just a convenience food. I mean, you can buy in bulk, preserve it without taking up all of your freezer space. It's really the way to go. And once you get the hang of it, you realize just how easy it is and what a benefit it can be to you and your family. If you like this video, like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe please, that will help me out greatly, and then go to the comment section. Any other questions, any other clarifications that you might have? Maybe you have some helpful tips and tricks that you found along the way. So much for watching. Remember, do everything with excellence. Be sober and vigilant, and above all else, steward well the things that God has placed in your care. See you later.